It was a cold and stormy night in a quiet suburb of Ohio when Mia Thompson glanced at the clock on the kitchen wall. 9:13 p.m. Her 8-year-old daughter Lily had finally fallen asleep after a day of battling the flu. The wind howled against the windows, and the rain thudded like falling pebbles on the roof of their modest home. Mia sank into the couch with a sigh, a cup of herbal tea warming her hands, her eyes stinging with exhaustion. She had never imagined life would look like this, working 2 jobs, raising a child alone, and constantly juggling bills. Yet, despite the chaos, Mia always tried to keep a little light in her home, a candle of kindness that refused to burn out. That night, a knock shattered the silence. Startled, Mia stood, her heart pounding. Who would be out in this weather? She tiptoed toward the door and peeked through the curtain. A tall man stood on her porch, soaked to the bone, shivering under a thin jacket. His eyes, dark, tired, but not threatening, met hers. Cautiously, she opened the door halfway. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said with a tremble in his voice. "My car broke down the road. I've been walking for miles. I just need a place to dry off. I'll leave in the morning." Mia hesitated. Every instinct screamed caution. She was alone. She had a child. But something in his voice, a weariness layered with quiet desperation, cut through her fears. "What's your name?" she asked. "Mark," he replied. "Mark Adams." She looked at the storm behind him, then back at his soaked clothes. "You can come in, but just for the night." He nodded gratefully, stepping inside. She laid out a towel and some old clothes from her late brother's stash in the closet. Mark thanked her quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. They spoke only briefly. He said he was a traveling mechanic headed to Cincinnati for work. Said he'd had a rough year. Mia didn't pry. That night, Mark slept on the couch, and Mia, unable to fully relax, kept a kitchen knife under her pillow. Morning came, and the storm cleared. Lily wandered into the living room, pale and coughing. Mark rose instantly, offering her the blanket he'd used. Instead of reacting with fear, Lily smiled weakly. Days turned into a week. Mia didn't know why she let him stay longer. Maybe it was Lily's growing fondness for him, or maybe it was the way Mark quietly fixed the squeaky cabinet doors and the leaky faucet, without being asked. He cooked simple meals, cleaned up after himself, and always maintained a respectful distance. But Mia couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. He didn't use a phone. He avoided questions about his past. One night, after Lily had gone to bed, she asked directly, "Who are you really, Mark?" He looked at her for a long moment, then said, "Just someone trying to start over." That answer both comforted and disturbed her. Then came the night everything changed. Mia returned home late from her evening job at the diner. She found the front door ajar. Panic gripped her chest. She rushed inside. Lily was safe, sleeping, but Mark was gone. In his place was a small envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was a note. "Mia. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I wasn't honest with you. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm on the run, from myself more than anyone else. 3 years ago, I made mistakes. I trusted the wrong people, lost my job, my home, and almost lost my mind. I've spent the last year homeless, wandering. But the kindness you and your daughter showed me, it woke something in me I thought was dead. I'm going to turn myself in. Not because I have to, but because I want to be someone worthy of the faith you showed. Thank you for giving me a glimpse of humanity again. Mark." Mia stood frozen, the note trembling in her hand. She didn't hear from him for months. Winter passed, and spring bloomed in colors across Ohio. Life moved on. Mia returned to her routine, though something inside her had changed. Her kindness had touched a life far more deeply than she realized. Then, one sunny afternoon, a letter arrived. It was from a correctional facility in Kentucky. Mark wrote to say he had turned himself in for a minor fraud charge tied to a company he once worked for. He had been sentenced to 6 months with time served, and now, he was out, working at a garage, staying clean, and rebuilding his life. You saved me, Mia. When I had nothing, you gave me shelter, not just from the storm outside, but the one inside me. I hope someday I can repay that. Give Lily a hug for me. Mark. Tears welled in Mia's eyes. She looked over at Lily, now healthier and full of laughter, and felt a swell of peace. Sometimes, kindness feels like a risk. Sometimes, it's all someone needs to believe again. And sometimes, a stranger at your door isn't who they claim to be, but becomes exactly who they're meant to be.